He thought he could outrun us, but he was wrong.
Just after 8:00 a.m., we received multiple calls of sightings of the suspect. Placing resources there immediately resulted in an additional citizen's call at about 8:57 a.m. We took advantage of that quickly evolving situation and made the arrest at 9:05 a.m. We find some peace in knowing that the suspect is no longer a threat, but remain committed to the families, the community, and to justice.
Captured the suspect in the Tennessee family massacre in custody after a weeks-long manhunt, but still so many unanswered questions. And we're looking ahead to the legal fight against the suspect, his charges, the motive, and most importantly, what happens to the baby. And did Donna deny a plea deal after refusing to give up her daughter, Wendy? We're spotlighting the alleged matriarch mastermind. And jail calls released from the man convicted of murdering his girlfriend, Crystal Rogers. The calls reveal Brooks Houck's plans to sell his assets amid his civil suit. Is it legal? It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Wednesday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. This is the show where we get you all warmed up and ready to go for the big day ahead on Court TV Live. We've got a tremendous show planned, so let's get started. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. Will a deal get done with Donna? Mama Donna Adelson is getting ready to go to trial in Florida for allegedly being the mastermind of the murder of her former son-in-law, Dan Markell. Court TV reached out to Mama Donna's attorney after there was some source reporting outside of our network about a plea offer where Donna would reportedly plead guilty, give up Wendy, and get time served. But Mama Donna's attorney told us there has been no firm offer. So what does that mean, no firm offer? Was there a flimsy offer? I think it sounds like negotiations are going on, my friends, and there should be. There should be negotiations. You know, there's a saying in criminal law practice that most of the justice gets done in the hallways of the courthouse. It is very true. Now, for Donna, no prison time would probably be her greatest wish, right? We know she hasn't done very well in jail. Too many carbs. And for the state of Florida, it's probably very important to them to get complete justice for Dan Markell and his family. And if going after Wendy is part of their quest to accomplish that, well, Mama Donna just might be able to make the link they need to prosecute her. So what is firm is the trial date. We have got just about 2 weeks before the opening statements will begin. So in the meantime, I think that the prosecution would be smart to firm up whatever they may be hypothetically discussing with Mama Donna's attorney. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. And we're not done talking about Mama Donna. More on this is coming up for you later in the show. Right now, though, it's time for your daily docket.
That she wasn't wearing any clothes, that she was lying on her back, and that her legs and her head had been removed were the main things that we observed.
Okay. Did you notice anything about the condition of the femur bones specifically?
Yes, ma'am. Once we were able to get into the ditch and look a little closer, I could tell that the bones had been cut or through with an instrument of some kind.
In Georgia, we've got the state's case continuing at 9 a.m. Eastern in the dismembered wife murder trial. This is for defendant Nicholas Casotis. We'll go there together once things get underway. In Florida, we've got the defense case beginning in the revenge mom murder trial for defendant Sheila A.G. This defendant is expected to testify today. Court's going to start up at 10 a.m. We'll keep you posted on that. And in Montana, we've got the return mail murder trial for defendant Jordan Palmer. Court's going to start up at 11 a.m. Eastern. Right now, let's turn to our top story in Tennessee as the suspect accused in the brutal killings of those 4 family members is preparing to be arraigned. Now, this is going to be happening on Thursday morning. The 911 caller who helped lead to that man's capture is breaking his silence as well this morning. Defendant Austin Drummond, there he is now in custody after having been on the run since last Tuesday after the bodies of victims Matthew Wilson, Adriana Williams, Braden Williams, and Courtney Rose were found in a wooded area in Lake County, Tennessee. Ricardo Contreras was one of the people who spotted Drummond Tuesday morning in Jackson, Tennessee. The house painter described a man who was walking into a wooded area.
We are working over here, and we saw the guy walking in the middle of the woods.
Thank you.
And we thought, like, you know, nobody wants to walk in the middle of the wood, in the middle of this stuff. So we was kind of like very sure it was the guy. So I called the police immediately when the guy was walking right there, and kind of like give them the location and everything. And they'd be hearing about, actually I was on the phone when they got here.
Police arrested Drummond about 15 minutes after Contreras tipped off the police. The suspect was located behind a vacant pool house and had several weapons on him, as police suspected. A shelter-in-place order was in effect on Tuesday morning after police released surveillance footage of Drummond knocking on doors while holding a firearm. We showed this to you and talked about it yesterday morning. Still no word yet on a motive, but police say Drummond's girlfriend lived near that wooded area and is also related to the victims. Let's talk about this. Let's bring in our guest. Retired FBI special agent and firearms expert Jennifer Coffindaffer is with us, and the chief of police at Talladega College. He's also retired homicide detective Chief Chris Anderson is with us as well. Good morning to you both. Chief, I want to talk to you about the community and how this tip seems like it might have been what got law enforcement in a position to capture him. Curious what you think. How helpful was this guy's call to officials?
Oh, it's absolutely important. But first, before we get started, I want to offer my deepest condolences to the family members who've lost their loved ones in this violent, heinous act. You know, your loss is being felt across this entire country. So, but the first thing that I want to say is that, when the community and law enforcement stand hand in hand together, there's no force that's more powerful. Together, we don't just respond to danger. We prevent it, we overcome it, and we rise above it. So the tips that we in law enforcement get that lead to the arrest of those that commit these heinous acts is paramount. It's paramount when it comes to solving crimes and keeping communities safe. There's no power that's greater.
That's so awesome to hear you say that, all of that. Chief Anderson, thank you for that. Agent Coffindaffer, you've spent your career working with the U.S. Marshals. As you know, those guys are good. I've got a clip about one of them talking about how the community and the agencies work together, just as Chief Anderson said. Here we go.
He thought he could outrun us, but he was wrong. That's because together, we cannot be stopped. Law enforcement from every level and the people who call West Tennessee home did our parts. We worked long hours, neighbors stayed vigilant, agencies donated reward money, and someone saw something. They saw something out of the ordinary this morning and did what he was supposed to do. Because of that action, Drummond is in custody.
Jennifer Coffindaffer, did you have any doubt that Mr. Drummond would be brought in at some point?
No, I had no doubt. Look, they had him shored up, at least in the general area. And when that ring camera, when he showed up on that, that sealed his doom for me. You could tell he was out foraging. He was trying to get into homes, and that was a critical mistake on his part instead of staying sequestered. The other thing, Julie, is these people very seldom leave the area where the crime is committed and what they know. So law enforcement did just an excellent job in this case.
They sure did. And Jennifer, thank you for that. Yeah, we saw that in the other case. We've been talking so much about the Devil's Den homicide case, as you just pointed out. You know, he was just at the barbershop. Like, he didn't go very far from where this horrible incident took place, and he was grabbed up as well, thank God. I want to ask you both about what you think the motivation could be. And I recognize this is tough. We don't have a whole lot of facts. And we do know that there was a connection with Drummond's girlfriend and this family. So, and the family has spoken out on Facebook saying that, look, he was great with us when we knew him. This is stunning. We never would have suspected this. And Chief Anderson, we also know this is a really bad guy. He's a confirmed member of the Vice Lords gang. We know he started with violent activity when he was a teenager and continued everything from aggravated robbery, picked up attempted homicide in the prison, also drug offenses in the prison, threatened the jury after he was convicted in one of his trials. And tell me, if you had to make an educated guess at this point, what do you think the motivation might have been for him?
So, you know, as many times as I've been on this show, it's hard to guess those whys with limited information. And plus, as an investigator, the whys are always the hardest thing to figure out. I mean, sometimes you can, but in most cases, as investigators, as homicide investigators especially, you never can find out exactly why and what motivates a person to commit a murder such as this. So it would be hard for me to give an educated guess because 90% of the time it's probably going to be wrong. It's not going to be exact. And I'm not the type of person that likes to put out misinformation. So, but the whys in cases such as this are always the hardest to figure out.
Yeah, and I really respect that, Chief. And you're right, and that's what's tough and so troubling and what so many people want an answer to. Just like, you know, we've all struggled with the Brian Kohberger case and the Idaho 4 student murders. Will we ever know? Maybe not. Probably not. I have a little bit of information about this girlfriend of his. Apparently, according to some reports, she is Courtney Rose's sister. So Courtney Rose would be the grandmother of the baby, the mother of Adriana Williams and Braden Williams. It says that it's her sister, his Drummond's girlfriend, and that she also reportedly served as a corrections officer, Agent Coffindaffer, in the facility where he was serving time. And we know that he was doing time for that aggravated robbery. He picked up 2 cases, drug case and the attempted homicide case. And from what I've seen from some other reports, he was emboldened in that facility. I mean, with tablets and things and really living it up, and had gotten some things that he shouldn't have had as an inmate. Any educated guesses you'd like to offer, Agent Coffindaffer, for motive?
Well, I really appreciate Chris's response because truly we're working with so little on this end. But when you look at the connectivity with the ex-girlfriend being related to these, I mean, to me, this seems, at least on its surface, could be very likely some revenge or anger where he just completely lashed out. As you said, this is a career criminal. This is somebody who was already wanted for an attempted murder. He's institutionalized. He's been doing these crimes. I looked back at 17, at least, unarmed robberies. So, you know, people who commit armed robberies are ready to murder. So this guy was unhinged, obviously, and again, a member of a Vice Lord street gang. They are extremely, extremely dangerous and volatile.
Yes, yes, Jennifer. I was wondering if it could have been related to gang activity. You know, if this seemed to come out of nowhere and if they said he was great for all this time. I thought, could it have been that? Chief Anderson, any thoughts on him and his membership in this gang? And if you think this is going to be explored when investigators are trying to pinpoint a motive?
Yes, Julie, I definitely think it'll be explored. It has to be explored. Otherwise, we in law enforcement are doing a disservice to the people that we serve. His background, his connection to the victim's family, his affiliation with gangs, his access to firearms, all of this spells are all aspects. Excuse me. All of these are aspects of this investigation that has to be investigated, and I'm sure it will. This law enforcement agency has been very astute in everything that they're doing with the investigation, including his apprehension. So yes, I'm sure that it'll be investigated. I'm sure there'll be more, and with those investigations, there will be more information that comes to where we can make a better assertion of why this crime happened. But I just think that early in this portion, it's just way too early to make a determination because there's a lot of layers in this case.
Most certainly. No, thank you for that, Chief. And big shouts to all the agencies that worked together. It was 3 Jackson police officers first on the scene, arrested him. Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, we know, worked this case. U.S. Marshals worked the case, and multiple sheriff's departments also contributed in the investigation. So bravo to all of them. I'm so glad that they were able to apprehend him safely. As you both know, Agent and Chief, you both have been there, been out in these dangerous situations, and it's always a great day when law enforcement comes home safely. Thank you both for your service and all the excellent insight this morning. We'll see you soon. And coming up next on Opening Statements, we're going to continue our coverage of the Tennessee family murders case. What happens to that beautiful orphan baby now? And we're spotlighting Mama Donna Adelson's case and the rumored plea offer ahead of her upcoming trial.
Matriarch of the Adelson family gets arrested.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law, Dan Markell.
Prosecutors say a bitter child custody battle was the motive for the murder-for-hire plot. Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
Now that the ship is really sinking fast, blood doesn't matter that much.
The Matriarch Mastermind Murder Trial. Live coverage begins August 19th, only on Court TV.
To the families in Lake County who lost loved ones, Drummond's arrest cannot restore what has been taken from you. We only hope that we could have help give you assurance that justice will be had. And to the baby girl who will tell one day her story of survival, we look forward to all that you will do.
We're looking ahead to the case against Austin Drummond. The week-long manhunt for the alleged killer is finally over. His arrest coming shortly after police warned residents of Jackson, Tennessee to remain vigilant. And they did. Police said they received 2 tips from community members leading to the capture. And he'll be arraigned later this week in Tiptonville. That is where the murders happened. This is just under 80 miles north of where he was spotted and arrested. Now, although the suspect is in custody, investigators still don't know what the motivation was behind the crimes.
And at this point, on a working motive, we are unable to speak about that. Still all part of the investigative process at this time. Yes. In terms of his prior charges that he also has picked up while he was in prison, all of those certainly will be taken into consideration as we move forward in the justice process, as you've heard the generals speak to. So, yes, all of his activities will be certainly considered, not only in our investigative effort and the justice process, but certainly in his housing and how he'll be managed going forward.
So let's talk about whether this will be a capital case for defendant Austin Drummond. Tennessee has the death penalty, and District Attorney Danny Goodman said he has yet to decide whether he will seek it, but also qualified the statement by saying, quote, "It is very likely that he will pursue it." So is that what Mr. Drummond should expect? Let's bring in our legal eagles. I'm so happy to have with me this morning Franz Borghardt and Randy Kessler. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Franz, would you start us off, please? What do you think about this? Should Mr. Drummond expect a notice of intent to seek the death penalty?
It checks all the boxes. So under the law, if you have certain aggravating circumstances and those boxes are checked, then the state can pursue the death penalty. And candidly, whether they actually want to pursue the death penalty or not, it gives them leverage. Death is a lot more leverage than, say, a life sentence. So I would be shocked if it's not a capital murder case. I would be shocked if he's not indicted for that. Specifically, or in particular, if we're looking for answers that only he can give us, that leverage of capital murder, if he ever does a plea, might be something where we can get those answers. Maybe not. But yes, I definitely think it'll be capital.
Great points. Franz, thank you. Randy Kessler, want you to weigh in on the same question, please. Do you expect this to be a capital case?
From what we know, absolutely. And I think Franz is exactly right. And, by leverage, what we mean is if you're going to look at death, maybe you take a plea to save your life and you spend the rest of your life in jail because that's better than your worst case scenario. I mean, that's what the cap is, right? When you say death penalty, that's the worst thing that can happen. When you say life in prison, you've now eliminated that possibility. And so how much better could it be than life in prison for this guy, given what we know right now? And again, we're not inside traders. We don't know what the police know. We don't know all the information. But if they want more information, Franz is exactly right. You're going to seek the death penalty. The only reason you really don't seek the death penalty is if you think that's going to turn off jurors. You think that's going to maybe thwart the process and maybe make it harder to get a conviction. But in this case, from all we know right now, I see no reason why it would not be a death penalty case.
Yes, Randy, thank you. I'm in agreement with both of you, gentlemen. I think that it is ripe for that kind of pursuit. I think when you have a massacre like this, so brutal, and now this baby orphaned, if he is the guy, this is the way to proceed, in my view, about the way this occurred. And this is also a very violent repeat felon we're dealing with here. So, of course, that goes into play when we look at, if it weren't a capital case, we look at his sentencing guidelines. I mean, he would need at least to be locked up for the rest of his life if he did these heinous acts. So speaking of that beautiful baby, I want to turn our attention there to the victims and ask you both some questions about her and what may come next. So looking at these victims, these are the 4 people who lost their lives and that baby. These victims, 20-year-old Adriana Williams, the baby's mom, 21-year-old James Wilson, who was Adriana's partner and the baby's dad, and 38-year-old Courtney Rose, who would be Adriana's mom and also baby's grandma, and she's also the mother of 15-year-old Braden Williams. And so we have, a grandmother, a mother, this precious little child here. Oh my gosh, her father, her uncle, all taken away, and the baby then abandoned about 45 minutes away, but thank goodness was safe. So legally now, what's going to happen to that child? She's orphaned. Randy Kessler, let me start with you here, please. What do you expect legally to happen for that little angel?
So this is one of the greatest burdens that society has and the state has, and the courts act, as we say all the time in Latin, it's called parens patriae. They're sort of the ultimate parents for all of us and for our children. And normally, it's a sort of decision, well, what's in the children's best interest? But that's sort of not the case here, because what's in the children's best interest is usually a decision between which parent, mom or dad. When the parents are not available, like here, and now when the grandparents not available, it becomes a whole bunch of other layers. Is it better to be with a relative? Is it better to be with the state for a while? Is it better to be with somebody who is connected to the dad? The state has a hard problem. They're going to first secure the child, and thank goodness, if there is any silver lining, this child will have no memory of this, right? This child will be raised, hopefully by an adopted family or a foster family or a family member that's willing to take this child in. There's going to be a solution somewhere. Hopefully somebody steps up, somebody in the family that has love and connection to the actual family members of this child. It's a complicated solution, but again, the silver lining is this child wasn't 12, 13, 18 years old and their whole life got torn apart. This child's going to have a new life. Let's pray it's a good one.
Randy, you're so right. Let's pray it's a good one. Franz, let me go to you here, please, for some advice. As a former prosecutor, when you think about what the surviving family members of these 4 individuals might be thinking right now, I'm sure their heads are just swimming with what's this process going to be like? How's it going to be going through this? All the people that cared about them. What would you say to them? What advice would you have for them this morning as they're getting ready for this guy's arraignment tomorrow?
Patience. The system takes a long time, especially if we're pursuing the death penalty. Patience. It's going to take a while to get justice, but in this case, I anticipate a big old serving of it. So I would encourage them to just lean into the fact that they need to be patient. They will have their days in court. They will have a voice at some point in the process. Focus on the things that you can control. Surviving family members can be that beacon of hope for that little girl, and lean on the resources of the state. There's going to be tons of resources, but patience. It's frustrating sometimes, but inevitably justice is coming. It's just going to be a long road, but it's coming.
So well said. Franz Borghardt, Randy Kessler, thank you both for the excellent analysis. We want more from you. We're going to hit a break. When we do that, we want to just take a moment to remember these victims. You know, that's what we want to do on this show always, is put the focus where it belongs, on the people that this case is about. Adriana Williams, Braden Williams, Matthew Wilson, and Courtney Rose, all taken in such a heinous way. We're thinking about their loved ones this morning and sending them every good wish. We'll be right back.
When did they issue a warrant? So what happened is we have to take you to our warrants room for that information to get entered, and then after that gets entered, before we can take you to the jail, to the local jail. Okay, because I didn't know there was a warrant. How would I know that?
In our spotlight this morning, we're asking the question, did prosecutors offer Mama Donna Adelson a deal? Well, here's what Tallahassee defense attorney Tim Jansen had to say on the Surviving the Survivor podcast.
Donna was offered a plea deal of time served if she gave up Wendy.
Whoa.
And she turned it down. And this is inside the courthouse. She was offered, someone said, maybe give her a deal. They said, no. She was offered time served if she would give Wendy, because of her age. She turned it down.
All right, so prosecutors will not confirm that report. We reached out to them. We tried. They won't say, but that is standard. They're not going to talk to the public about plea offers they're offering defendants. So nobody should blame them. They shouldn't. They shouldn't be answering anything to the media right now. We did ask Donna's attorneys. Now, they can give an answer to us if they wish. And her attorney wrote back to us that no firm offer was conveyed. There was no firm offer. His words, no firm offer. What does that mean? Like I said in my opening statement, does that mean a flimsy offer was extended? I'm kidding, but it sounds to me like negotiations are going on, right? And she's set to go to trial in just about 2 weeks. 2 weeks from yesterday is the day set for jury selection. So, if they get the jury picked in a day, it could be opening statements today in 2 weeks from now. So, do we think that if that whatever was extended, maybe a hypothetical, we'll call it, that Tim Jansen was saying he heard about through some source reporting, if that was extended, does that mean that prosecutors want Wendy? Is that what we can glean from that? Let's ask our legal eagles. Still with me, Randy Kessler and Franz Borghardt. All right, Franz, what do you think? Is Wendy who they want?
I think it's fair to say they want everyone. Mm-hmm. And if there is a pathway of getting everyone, because remember, at the end of the day, a plea of guilty and cooperation against your own daughter will seal the deal, right? It will seal the deal, assuming she pleads, assuming they firm up that offer. I think they want everybody, and I think the pathway of least resistance to them is an older defendant mom more sympathetic? Do they need her to get Wendy? Maybe. But I will tell you, never underestimate the desire to be free. And if you think that a mom won't roll against the daughter, buckle up.
Think again, right, Franz? I know. I've got another clip from the Surviving the Survivor podcast, and here Joel Waldman is asking that attorney Tim Jansen if this alleged offer was based on Wendy's innocence. Let's take a listen.
Did she say no because my daughter's innocent, or she said no because I'm a mom?
I didn't get that information, and no, but that's a very good source. Yeah.
Well,
I was shocked. when I heard time served. Like Julia said, I'm like, what can you give him? I'm like, well, maybe 5 years, but time served, that's almost as good as that's almost as good as a deal Katie got and turned down.
He's talking about Katie Magbanua, or Catherine Magbanua, Charlie's girlfriend, who was also involved in this. I know. Franz, your reaction. So the question is, why reject it, right? That was a good question. Joel wanted to know, was it rejected because my daughter's innocent and I just couldn't have any information to provide? Or is the mother's love just too strong? Randy Kessler, what do you say here, please?
Well, it's an interesting dance, right? Back and forth, the prosecutors sort of testing the defense is testing the prosecution. You know, it's almost like a car dealership negotiation. You know, what do they really want? What's the real bottom line? So I'm not surprised if some deal was floated, some hypothetical offers, maybe not a specific, you know, in writing, here's your offer, think about it. But, you know, it's tempting, and you can see all sides. The prosecution would love to have it all tied up and, you know, put away without having to spend taxpayer money and have admissions and you know, pleas. On the other hand, mom and her, you know, daughter and her, you know, are they going to throw each other under the bus? That's the end of everything, because that's really, you know, that changes the game. If mom testifies against the wife, against the mother of the child, that it's game over. So, you know, maybe it's a little dance, maybe it's back and forth. It looks like mom's sticking strong by her family and she's going to fight it out like she's stuck by her son. We'll see. But I agree with Franz, you know, you dangle that fruit, you know, from the tree. This is freedom. You can grab it. All you have to do is throw somebody else under the bus. We see it all the time, but it's got to be the hardest person to throw under the bus as a family member. I'm interested to see if there ever is a plea. I think it's going to go to trial.
Interesting prediction there, Randy. Yeah, I know a lot of people are anxious for it to go to trial and really looking forward to this and seeing how Mama Donna may defend herself here. Another pattern that we've picked up on, I'm sure you gentlemen have too, is how this case has progressively added more defendants. And the pattern's been there's a trial and then somebody else is arrested and charged. You know, we had the gangbangers and then the girlfriend, Catherine Magbanua, and then Charlie gets, you know, arrested and charged and tried. And then it's Mama Donna's arrested. So it seems like there's a trial and then an arrest, a trial and an arrest. Do we think after this trial, there could be another arrest? What do you say, Franz?
Well, I think if she pleads guilty and cooperates, there will definitely be more arrests. But look, at the end of the day, there may be some strategy behind the trial arrest pattern. But I mean, who's left? I mean, aren't we running out of people to arrest at this?
Yeah.
I mean,
so
yeah. So and look, I don't know if Wendy did anything or didn't do anything. I just know that the part of me that loves true crime would love to watch mom testify against daughter. And I'll say it just another way. If you labor under the impression that someone cannot plead guilty to, quote, something they didn't do, I will tell you after 20 years in the justice system, that house of straw is easily blown over. So, yeah, it may be a trial. There may be more arrests, but I just, if there's a trial though, wouldn't they have already arrested Wendy? So I don't know.
You know, and Wendy's interesting because we know the person who stood to gain the most from this homicide is Wendy. So I think that's the thing that's so frustrating about this is the person who stood to gain the very most is her. And she just happens to drive by the homicide scene just, oh, I don't know, I think I'll go this route that day. Oh, you know, there's the joking around about, you know, the present and the television versus a hitman with Charlie. And there are just things that, Randy Kessler, you know, I've often wondered in maybe another jurisdiction, and I'm not, look, these prosecutors have been great. I commend them. They've done a great job. But they've also been maybe not as aggressive as some other jurisdictions in charging a lot of people at the outset. They kind of take the wait and see approach, see if they can get something on the record, see if they can. I wonder if maybe we were in another jurisdiction if Wendy would have already been charged. What do you think, Randy? What do you think about that?
Well, maybe, but, you know, one term that you use a lot, that we all use a lot, especially on this show, is overcharging, right? And we've seen it in the P. Diddy case. We've seen it in a lot of cases where prosecutors are accused of being too aggressive. And when you charge too much, too fast, and you don't win on all those charges, why not measure twice, cut once. So I'm not worried or concerned that they haven't charged yet until they have enough evidence. And that's what our justice system should be. When you have enough evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that somebody is guilty, then you charge. And if you don't feel like you have that, you don't charge. You know, this is just it's a fascinating case. And again, back to what Franz said, you know, there's that dilemma of you got somebody who turns and they get a deal. Well, that's great for cross-examination. When mom testifies against her daughter, and then the cross-examination is, yeah, well, you're going free now because you're testifying. So it doesn't hinge on the deal. It hinges on how mom, grandma would testify, how Donna would testify. Is she going to testify and say, yeah, my daughter did it, but I'm getting up? Or is she going to be honest and say, for the sake of truth and for the sake of my grandchildren, you know, how she testifies in this case is going to be much more important than the jailhouse snitch who says, yeah, give me a deal and I'll say he did it and point the finger. It's going to be fascinating to watch, like Franz said.
Yeah, you're so right. Love the analysis you both have given us. I can't wait for this trial to go, and I can't wait for the other brother. There's another brother nobody talks about. He's distanced himself from the family. I can't wait to hear what he thinks about all of them. I feel very bad for him because this has been terrible, what he's been put through with this mess. So hopefully he'll be a testifying witness. Franz Borghardt, we got to let you go off to court. Thank you so much for coming on the program today. We'll see you soon. Randy Kessler's coming with us. Do the same at home, please. Go get some more coffee. When we come back, here's what's next.
The civil case is what's coming next. Do you understand?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so they're going to take everything. They're going to take everything that I've got. So go ahead and try to get what you can.
Oh, sounds like convicted killer Brooks Houck wants to sell his assets off ahead of his civil case. We'll talk about that. And later, returning to Georgia for the dismembered wife murder trial. Have you heard about this case? We've got a former Navy JAG as the defendant. His wife was dismembered, scattered in various locations. He says he didn't do it. Is saying that someone else is the culprit.
Did a lost letter lead to murder?
He acted in self-defense.
A misunderstanding over mail turns deadly.
Now the victim's neighbor faces life in prison.
The returned mail murder trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Covering the country's biggest trials before we bring you inside the courtroom. Plus, the true crime cases you want to know more about in our daily spotlight.
Opening statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
New jailhouse calls reveal what convicted killer Brooks Houck is worried about now. Houck was found guilty of murdering his ex-girlfriend Crystal Rogers back in July. The 35-year-old mother of 5 children disappeared in 2015, and her body has never been found. Houck and Rogers share a son. In just released jail phone calls, Houck speaks to his family about selling off his assets before Rogers' family can take him to court.
See if he's got some investors that want to buy some stuff, and and if he does, try to put some groups of stuff together. All the stuff down there at the barn, that equipment, dump trucks and those trailers and that backhoe and that SkyTrack. Alex can look all that stuff up on YouTube or on things. He knows how to run the SkyTrack anyways, but he can look that stuff up, see what that stuff's worth. And I'd like to go ahead and sell that. That farm's nothing's owed on that. I don't know if that'll be protected in the civil suit, but in the next year or something going through the court system, they're going to take everything that I've got.
Okay, now there's more. Brooks Houck reportedly owns, wait for it, some 83 properties worth $8.5 million. And there's more. The judge who presided over the 10-day-long trial where he was convicted of murdering Crystal Rogers had ordered him not to transfer any property until at least after an evidentiary hearing set for October 8th. Well, we know we're not there now. And so last week, after transcripts of these jail phone calls were brought to the court's attention, the court issued a temporary injunction to prohibit Mr. Houck from selling any of his property or any of his businesses. Apparently, it was obvious to the court he was trying to shield his assets to avoid payment in a wrongful death lawsuit, should he be found liable in such a suit. Okay, let's talk about this. Somebody hiding assets? My gosh, let's bring in celebrity attorney Randy Kessler. Randy, shocking that this guy would want to do this, huh? Isn't it? What do you think? Quick on the court, though, wasn't it, to somebody obviously flagged that in the jail and brought it to the judge's attention. Your thoughts?
Right. Well, first of all, you almost feel for the guy, right? If you give people the benefit of the doubt, and if he thinks he's innocent, you know, he's trying to protect his family. He's trying to protect the wealth they have. And, you know, you sort of don't blame him. I've already lost my life. I've lost my freedom. I've lost everything. At least I want my family to have what I've worked for, and I don't want it to go to somebody else who I didn't hurt, if that's what he's feeling. But yes, you're absolutely right, Julie. Someone good to monitor the calls and say, let's not, you know, have a fictitious trial on the civil damages and get a big verdict that says he owes all this money for the pain and suffering that he inflicted and not be able to collect it. You know, there's always two sides to a civil case, to a personal injury case. One is liability, you know, are you responsible for it? And two is, what are the damages? Well, the third thing we don't talk about is collectability. You know, we hear a lot about this $1 million case or $1 billion case. You know, when it's against a big motor company, there's deep pockets. When it's against someone who's in jail, you got to make sure that some of those pockets are still filled with some cash to make it worth pursuing. So quick on their feet is absolutely the right way to put it. They're protecting the possible recovery for a civil case.
A really helpful analysis you're giving us, Randy. Thank you. You brought up family, how you could see where this defendant's intention might have been, oh, I want to have something for my family. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I wanted to ask you about this son in particular that he shares with Crystal Rogers. And my understanding, this is the youngest of her 5 children that she has. She has other children who do not belong to Mr. Houck. I kept thinking about how, is there some mechanism here where if there is property or something to be sold off, or let's just say this guy did something and then the court catches him, where they could take the money and make sure it's put in trust for this baby, you know, who's going to be growing up now without mom and without dad. I just keep thinking about how, is there anything, because the child belongs to Crystal, that you think we could see cropping up in this civil suit? Her family obviously have an interest in taking care of the child. Anything we could expect or look for, Randy?
Yes, but you know, as the public probably thinks, and I get these questions a lot, why doesn't the court do something? Why doesn't the court protect the children? The child needs an advocate, right? Somebody's got to be hired. Hopefully the court appoints somebody, or family hires somebody whose goal is to protect the child's future. And if that happens, then certainly they can carve out and make a claim for some part of the estate, some part of the assets. But it's not something the court's just going to do on its own in the middle of a civil case where somebody's suing him for the damages, and they say, by the way, there's this innocent child, let's take some of the money. There's got to be an advocate, and hopefully there will be one appointed by the court, or the family members will step up and say, this child needs rights protected. But yes, it is an option. And, you know, it's sort of interesting, because had he died, then we'd be in probate court. It'd be, how do you distribute his assets? Had he been given the death penalty and he was dead, then how do you distribute the assets? But he's still alive, so technically they're still his assets. And how do you take them from him? Well, you sue him for civil damages and then you collect, or you ask the state to help the child.
A really, really excellent analysis from you, as per usual, Randy Kessler. That child does need an advocate. You're absolutely right. Randy, you've got cases to win. We got to let you get off to court. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. And today on the docket, co-defendant Stephen Lawson. Remember, he's one of Brooks Houck's 2 co-defendants. He's going to be in court today to be sentenced, and we don't have any word whether Crystal Rogers' family will be there, but we're monitoring the hearing. It starts up today at 4 p.m. Eastern.